What up, boys and girls? Welcome back to another episode. This is season 2, episode 3. Episode 3. Yeah. Good to see you. If you're watching, kama we ni regular kwa episode kwa this podcast, of course utajua last time nilikuwa mgonjwa. Nashukuru Mungu. I was under the weather, so nika got over the weather. Does that make sense? Yeah. Welcome back. It's such a good day leo. Mvua inanyesha. It's raining seriously in Kericho. Yeah. What's happening? Actually today we have a very serious episode. Serious. Mambo ya akili.
It's Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yeah, Mental Health Awareness Month. Last week was it last week or the other week was Nurses Week or something like that. And then yeah. So leo tuko na a professional who also happened to be my boss in some other spaces. Our boss.
Yeah.
So tuko na hapa leo atakuja atuambie mambo mawili matatu as we unpack a few things. Yeah. So tuangalie kwanza tu just to check up on how you guys are doing. Unaendeleaje?
Hi guys. Wiki yangu imekuwa fiti. Very busy week, lakini luckily leo shoot day imekuwa free. So here we are.
Yeah. And then now to our guests, a professional. Anakoga humble, but acha tunaambie she's a professional, like a proper professional. Yeah, so she'll be guiding us and answering a few questions that zimeulizwa na zenye tuko nazo yenyewe. Of course, this is one of many episodes with regards to Africanism, which is our theme for this season, and also psychology. So, ka kuna swali, you're not late, can just type it hapo chini. Yeah. So, by the time you're watching this, come on, just subscribe, please. Take a few seconds, like 5 seconds from now, before hata anze kuongea jamani. Hizi vitu mgeni hafai kusikia ati hauja subscribe. Yeah. So, yeah, so please.
Thank you so much. I'm not sure if you've said my name yet, but my name is Gladwell Koech. Koech, if you wish to have all 3 names. A counseling psychologist, a practicing psychotherapist. So professionally, I do therapy. I work with people in matters mental health. And I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Just to clarify, we are not here as patients.
Hata leo naona I've tried to be more behaved. I don't want to be admitted after this, but you know.
So we get into it. Jobu, ask away. What's your question do you have?
So, I don't know. We're talking about mental health awareness. Last day did you do such a thing?
Tuanze tulifanya ilikuwa mental health awareness. Yes. So hiyo tulifanya boys. So I think tuanze na terminology. What is mental health?
Okay. What mental health is? I'll take a leap and add is not. Hapo kando. Mental health is usually easily misinformed in terms of definition. Like you find, we often think on the negative side of it. But what mental health is a state of well-being where you're able to deal with your issues. If you're going through a difficult time, you're able to cope well. You're also able to work to capacity. That means all your abilities, you're able to bring them out. Just you're doing well generally. That's mental health. What mental health is not is now the usual ideology that we have that it's only unique to specific people. Actually, mental health is for all of us.
Ugonjwa wa wadosi.
Kama tuko sawa, si tuko sawa kila mtu. So, I'd say what we normally have in mind when we hear mental health is probably now what we call mental illness or ill health, where you're not okay. That means you could either be having a mental disorder or you could just not be in a position to cope with situations or circumstances. Hence, you're in ill health. the same way you can be sick and go to a hospital. Yeah, that's mental health.
That's nice. So what other question would I have concerning easy terms? Me, why should I go for therapy? Ama, why should I be aware of my mental health? Ama, why should I pay attention to my mental health?
So, like I said, everyone has mental health. Mental health affects or is about all of us. So, therapy, let me start with awareness, and then therapy will come in as an intervention. So awareness means we know what mental health is, just what you've already discussed in just a few minutes ago. And then now you're also able to know when you're not okay. That's awareness. It's like I know when it's well, and I also know when it's not, such that you're able to reach out. If you need help, now you know to seek help when you're not okay. The same way, being aware of things like diabetes, for example, you know normal sugars look like this, abnormal look like this. So you can go to the doctor when they are abnormal. So therapy, I'd say, is an intervention. It's only one of the interventions. We have a very long list. I hope while on set we can still explore a lot more interventions. But therapy is the common one that is known, and sometimes also misinformed what therapy really is. So seeking therapy is now coming from that awareness that I'm not okay. I think I need a professional to support me through the process of maybe dealing with the situation I'm in, or to just be aware of what really is causing me to be in trouble. And sometimes also therapy, or oftentimes we advocate for going to therapy before you are unwell. That means you go to therapy to know more about yourself. For instance, self-awareness training. You can go in for anger management training. You can go in for personal development, like learn those skills before you need them, so that when you need them, you already have them. That's what therapy does. So it's not just about intervening when there's trouble. We also do it way before there's trouble by teaching you the skills early.
So si watu wagonjwa alikuwa nakwambia na patient ameingia hivi na ametoka.
No, see time ya uko mgonjwa. It's also for when you're not. It's like going for a checkup, ile tu yenye tunaambiwa annually, of which most of us don't go. Now therapy has that also side. Like you can come in for therapy and just say, I wish to learn a life skill, for example, to cope with, to say, any situation in life that can come up and affect anyone. So you're preparing in advance. When it is happening, you're ready. You have that skill with you.
Scary.
So what does that say about our community? Because nakumbuka like hiyo story yote ya therapy, psychology, nini, mental health, like it's a thing that kwangu kama msee wa ghetto imekuja, it's a recent thing, like si kitu ege tumegrow up tukijua. I don't know, like a typical African community doesn't have such a thing, especially now. And then gets even worse ikikuwa you are like you're a man, like it's not a thing. Like what do you mean you are sick mentally? Like so lala amka, I don't know, focus, just lock in. I don't know, like it doesn't make sense to be mentally sick or mentally ill. Nini so uko na kahoma, chemshia tangawizi hapo venye mimi nilifanya na tunasonga.
Unganisha answer hiyo na ile nilikuwa nimekuuliza the question about how different is mental health in Africa from what we would expect from the Western world. Like how different are our problems, and how like the different approaches you use in your
So the field of mental health, I'd say, is still developing, especially in the African context. We are still kind of catching up to that term, catching up to that concept, because for us, we've grown up in a community where, like Jobua has said, we weren't maybe aware that there's such a thing that can be called like that. But we actually used to have practices that would help us to go through life, cope with situations, for instance, deal with issues. We had a system, or we do have a system as Africans. Only maybe the name mental health came along with the Western psychology, the psychological kind of education. learning about it. But now we actually have systems in place already. For instance, before I even go to raise, maybe differentiating and all that, in an African setting, an African home community, you'll find that whenever we lose a loved one, people come together to support the family. We show up. No one has to even ask you to come. You just hear about the news, you come. And we help one another through the process and beyond the process. Like there are so many either cultural practices that will take place. There's a way we will grieve together. There's a way we will come together to even celebrate the life of the loved one and grieve their loss. So all those things are already in place, and they go all the way far back as we know, based on our age. So those are the same things that are in psychology. Like when someone is going through a loss or loss and grief, for example, in therapy, then we would encourage them to have community around them. We encourage them to have a support system, people to be close with and talk about what happened. We'll also encourage them to reflect on maybe the positive side of it, like the loss of the loved one doesn't have to be all that we are looking at. You want to also celebrate the life. You got a chance to be with this person. How was it? So you will find us maybe giving them worksheets in therapy that help you reflect on those perspectives. We also want to look at the pain of the loss. So that's where we now look at the grief side of it. We take you through step by step, looking at how does this loss affect your life, either the changes that will come along, the emotions that you're going through at the moment. And we also help you to see that beyond the grief, of course, grief is never something you get over. You just work through it. So we are telling you that beyond this season that it's so heavy and difficult, 6 months down the line, a year down the line, how would you wish your life to look like in a way that still appreciates your loved one and you're still able to move forward with your life? So if you look at it, it's very congruent. Like it's almost quite a similar setting, only that now in this side, it's a professional setting. That other side was our usual system as a community. So there's a way to blend the both of them in approaching the situations of big grief. There are a lot of other situations, of course. Yeah. Difference. Ray's question, I hope I've captured it correctly. The difference between our African approach to psychology and issues mental health, versus the Western approach. Our African approach often is kind of, we are still approaching it sijui kama ni pole pole or cautiously. It's like we are unsure whether to move that direction or hold back a bit. And right now there is a lot of advocacy, of course, that has brought up information, it has brought up awareness, and we are getting closer to embracing that perspective. However, naturally as an African, naming things in that way, like especially because mental health came with a negative connotation, tumejua kama watu wagonjwa, kind of. But essentially when you have the right information and you know mental health is actually well-being, I think you're more receptive. So I think how we received it or how we got the information at first probably had an effect on us receiving it on the kind of resistant, hesitant kind of way. But the more we get information, the more advocacy is done, the more awareness we get, we are able to embrace it. We're like, so you mean the fact that we live as a community, we are resilient, actually is about mental health, then that's nice, we accept. So you see, there was that, I think the information gap played a big role in that, in creating that hesitance and resistance. Yeah, but there isn't much difference. How it's practiced could be different again. And unfortunately, I don't know whether it's unfortunately, I don't know what word to put there, but like our education system, I am trained with a background of Western psychology, like our books, I don't know, everything in school was borrowed from the West. You would hear APA, you would hear American this, American that. I can barely remember a time we had an African psychology book to reference in school. So that means, again, the context of information as a professional that you get in training is more westernized, and by the time you're in practice is when it hits you I actually have a culture to deal with. I have a culture to customize all that I know to. And it takes a process. At first, it's not easy, but as you embrace both ways, then you start to realize it's possible to actually make it work.
I don't know. I feel like maybe it's now an opportunity for you guys to make books for the future generations. Like, you have a patient that has just walked in.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. Should we say your name, sir? Or culture amewasalimia.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. So I have two questions, but let's start. First of all, what happens now because you're trying to tailor-make this ecology thing for our community or our culture?
Yes.
Does it mean that now, let's say we take you to somewhere in Coast or Ukambani, are you going to now adjust again, ama it's just so much easier? Or if you take you to a community maybe in South Africa, how different will that be?
In terms of culture, there would definitely be a difference. You see, the thing with Africa, whenever we say Africa, I think even people out there and unasikianga those kind of videos that say, I introduced myself as a Kenyan and someone is asking me to go say hi to their friend in South Africa. Those kinds of, so I think when you say Africa, there's such a bigger context that we are dealing with than just the word. You see, Africa is already a continent with several states. Each state has several communities. Each community has sub-communities. So you can imagine handling such a context.
Yeah.
So it means basically if I'm to move from this area, which is predominantly Kalenjin, and most likely my practice has then tried to align to, whenever I'm handling someone from this side, I would definitely need to have a little background of their communal or cultural practice. It even comes out as we share. It comes out that I am hesitant to do this because culture. Now, if I move to another culture, for instance, I would likely get to interact with that version, you know. I would hear someone maybe hesitant to do what would have been done this side. They can't do it that side because of how they've grown up. I was saying where culture, the word culture comes from a Latin word, cultus. Cultus is basically cultivate. So you can imagine how you form something. It's kind of how you form it, yeah?
Yeah.
It's very, it goes into the being, you know, the formation of that individual. So it means whenever we are dealing with you, we are dealing with you plus however you've been cultivated kind of in your community. So nikitoka hapa niende that other place, it means I would be dealing with that person from that perspective. Hence, I might need to, maybe not visibly, usually as a professional, you can't really start saying, oh, now I need to, you just move with the current, right? And you adapt. So I would need to adapt, but probably it would be an internal process, but definitely there would be need to do that. Yes.
In my small research about communities, I realized like I'd say maybe like there's two major divisions of communities. Like kuna ujamaa and the other one is, what is the other one? Like Tanzanians ni ujamaa, Kenyans ni
Kenya ni a capitalist state.
a capitalist and communism. Would you say that those are like the major divisions of like that would like divide a community, say? Like define a community, because assuming that I'm raised in a communal, I'm coming from a communal community, I'm a communal society, and someone who's coming from a capitalist society, I feel like those, for me, those stand out if I'm observing. I'm not a psychology.
Yeah.
Okay, I did some units of psychology. Maybe I should be a social psychologist to some point, but not like a professional social psychologist. So those are some of the things I observed in social psychology. I don't know. Are they
Communism versus capitalism?
Yeah.
Allow me to take a leap here, and it could bring a lot of maybe questions and concerns. But I think Africa generally, we are communist.
Yeah.
Yeah, a communist
society? That's true.
The capitalism that has come in imetoka kwingine. It's something we got created into. it's quite foreign for us.
Right.
Even when you look at a setting where capitalism has kind of imeingia sana, you'll still find naturally we would lean towards being communistic.
Yeah.
Like we want to be together. We want a collective sense of, being together, dealing with issues together. If we are going through a certain season that is difficult, we want to go through it together. That togetherness really is the image of Africa, I'd say. So to think that at a point we are actually dealing with this versus that is quite unfortunate already, because our communism that we carry from our history is one of the protective factors for mental health. Actually, it's one of the plus that we have in terms of our community or our context that boosts our mental health. Our likelihood to cope is like built on that background. The fact that no matter where I go, it's probably an interesting concept that I carry within me, but I always believe no matter where I go, like within the bounds of like my country, of course a lot has changed over time, but like even if I go to another country right now, I am likely to meet people and they'll be very happy to greet me. They'll be likely happy to support me, like, I need directions and all that and all that. But if you think of the extreme of capitalist setting, you're likely to just be on your own. It's like, I don't have time to even pause and ask who you are, what you're doing, what's your name. I would be chasing a whole lot of other things. That's probably a very general perspective. But our communism holds us together and it's a protective factor for mental health.
Actually, yeah, I have like a real life example. I don't have her consent, but I won't mention her name. So if you watch this, of course, it relates you. But so a classmate of mine is abroad. Is abroad. Yeah, he's abroad. He's in abroad.
Is out of the country.
Yeah, he's out of the country. Lately, kizungu yangu imekuwa, I don't know what's happening with me. Like I'm losing it. Unakumbuka ile game night fulani? The Anaconda game night. Ukumbuki? After hapo mazee, I don't know. But aside from that, alikuwa huko, and then with some time tunaongea ananiambia, mazee, I just miss home.
Yeah.
So you're from coast, ananiambia I miss home kwa sababu there's that community kind of thing. Hiyo huko akuko majuu na kila msee unamka tu.
It's very individualistic. Okay, kuna time nilikuwa nabonga na online fulani and they were like, these guys don't have culture. They don't have culture, don't have traditions. So kila msee hupiga tu shughuli yake. You don't care about what others think, what others say, what all that stuff. It's not positively, not like I don't want to do this because someone will say this. I don't want to do this because it doesn't affect you in any way. So why should I?
Yeah.
I don't care what you say. Like that one.
Yeah, so there's that. Like kila mtu anamka, anapanda gari, unapanda train, unaenda kazi, unarudi. You don't even know your next door neighbor. You don't interact with anyone. No one knows no one, and no one doesn't care. So I don't know. There's that. But for me, if we say communism and capitalism, I'd say if maybe you're like to classify group regions, I'd say they are, because from where I come from, there's a lot of communals. Hiyo tu sasa, like unajua, I'm trying to speak in English.
There's a lot of togetherness.
Yeah, kuna undugu mwingi. I'm trying to speak out of English because we have audience from abroad. Yeah, shout out to you guys. Yeah, sorry, I'm just trying to be accommodative. But if I was to group that, then sema kuna undugu mwingi from the Arabic countries as compared to the European countries. Would you say that's true?
Arabic countries.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's basically any what I will call okay. Right now we say, okay, not right now. Black people are the most indigenous human beings ever, but that's how Arabs and all these people fall into that category. Europeans are not. So all these people wakona cultures and traditions and the things they do. For instance, ukienda place kama venye umesema Arabs, the way these people function me, if I come to you an Arab and buy something from you, it's because nimetafuta kwa Arabs wote kakosa.
Yeah.
Naona, like that's how tight they are. So yeah, it's the same case in the same me. That's how it goes now. A lot of Asians, a lot of the Arabs, or Middle Easterns, I say, or Middle East, and then now Africans.
Yeah.
I feel like that's where now religion ties into this whole aspect of community.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, what role does religion or spirituality, or what I would say, faith play in mental health?
So when we look at factors in the mental health aspects, factors that either contribute to it or kind of reduce the likelihood to cope well, religion comes in as a protective factor, just like communism, like we mentioned. So it's not actually religion, it's religiosity. Like your association with the religion is what can boost or promote your mental. It's a protective factor. And usually, to avoid the controversy of what religion is or is not and all those debates, we go the way of spirituality. So we slash out religion and everything. We come now to spirituality. Spirituality is your connectedness to one, it could be nature, your understanding of the universe, your understanding of the power greater than you, all those aspects. So it's not restricted to Christianity or Islam or anything. It's just how do you understand things that are bigger than you in the universe, the aspects of life that are either beyond our way of explaining or our way of putting into, it's like human terms. The way, maybe for nature, for instance, none of us has contributed to nature existing. The sky is there, everything that is in nature equal to tulipata. So your understanding of that would then be your sense of spirituality. It's like we are aware that there's an aspect of life that is bigger than us, that's outside of us. We might never, some aspects can, some perspectives can come up here and there on how to explain it, but it depends now per individual where you commit to. For instance, someone can commit to a Christian perspective of spirituality. That means your Christian teachings, your spiritual leaders in that Christian setting would teach you how to understand the world that is bigger than you. If you're Islam, the same. If you're whatever you can think of, the same. But it's just how you're understanding or conceptualizing the universe that is bigger than yourself. Now, where it comes in mental health is it's so before I go to the second step where it can also be a barrier, let me look at the place where it's a protective factor. In that, it's like there are things that could happen to you and you fail to understand them. You fail not to understand, but like you can't explain. Like for instance, disasters, natural disasters, they happen in various parts, even of our country. And sometimes someone is going through that disaster and they go through what you call trauma.
Yeah.
And with that trauma, now we are helping them understand that it happened to them. They went through such an adverse situation, but it was a natural disaster. We can't blame anyone. It just happened. They've been affected, yes. So how do we help them? Spirituality would come in there, where we are helping them depending on where they've committed to in terms of now how they understand or conceptualize spirituality. If they are Christian, for instance, then we would walk with them in that direction. Like, this disaster happened, it happened to you, you survived it. The conversation carries on from there. So spirituality will be a protective factor in that they appreciate the positives of this situation, no matter how bad it is. And if you look at most spiritual teachings, they teach in that way, that no matter how bad things are, there's hope. If you look across, it cuts across the hope. If no matter how things go, you have a power that you can reach out to. For a Christian, for instance, would be God of the Bible. So you would be told, pray. ask God to help you, to walk with you through this difficult time. There is hope. You see, that's spirituality holding you together no matter how bad things are going. So for trauma, you are likely to bounce back gradually, and over time, we can see progress in terms of bouncing back when you have an anchor in spirituality. So it's a protective factor. However, and what I hear underlying your question is, how about times when someone says either they can't go to therapy or they can't seek professional help because they are religious?
Actually, that was a question posed by, I was to ask that question on behalf of Beryl. Aliuliza, why not just pray about it and not go for therapy? Why do I have to go for therapy? I can just pray about it and hopefully itaisha.
Yeah, so religion, okay, we are sticking with, let me stick with spirituality to avoid the controversy of what religion is or is not.
Yes.
The spirituality or how you understand spiritual life can easily also be a barrier. Like you find yourself in a space where you're thinking, instead of reaching out for help, instead of reaching out for a professional to support you through this, siniombe tu na nikae kwangu and wait for help to come through. However, that becomes a barrier in you getting the support you needed when you can't help yourself. You see, when you're in a vulnerable place, especially going through frustration or psychological distress, you need help outside of yourself to get you through. And that's where professional help comes in. We have community to support you, a support system around you. You need your family, you need your friends. And as I just route back to answering your question, the biggest risk factor in mental illnesses is isolation. So that's why we try to build people around you. But if you say, let me pray and stay in my house, you've already put yourself at higher risk. You're isolating.
Yeah.
So as much as you're reaching out to God, you're praying, you're in isolation in terms of what could help you get out, the social context of it. So it is likely to go wrong than help you out, you see, because you've removed some of the major things that could get you through in that season. So why we encourage still, no matter what kind of spirituality you've committed to, seek professional help or seek help first of all, then professional can come in as part of the help, is isolation puts you in a worse state than ever, in terms of when you're dealing with a bad situation. So we encourage you to reach out so that you have people around you who are looking at this situation from a different perspective. Remember, for you, you're already vulnerable. You're in psychological distress. You're probably in negative thinking, cognitive distortions. A lot is going on in your mind, and all you can see in the world is negative. Now you need a friend maybe like Job who would tell you, look, this situation is very bad, or it can be as bad as it looks. I can imagine how hard this situation is, but A, B, C, D things are going well. Can we appreciate those? So someone else is helping you look into the situation. And as you gradually appreciate the positives, there's a way your psychology starts to rewire itself to be well positioned to even face the negatives as you balance it out. So I'd say that's where now the seeking help comes in. No matter what kind of spirituality you hold on to, it still plays a role.
So does it ever get to a point where you have to draw a line?
Yeah.
Like draw a line between faith or spirituality and now psychology getting real help? Like, is there a point where you have to draw the line? You personally, for me, I don't. This is a biased opinion. Personally, I don't think I will be comfortable going to a preacher or for lack of a better word, a preacher who is a psychologist.
Yeah.
I feel like I will be biased to go to someone like that for help, because I feel like they will not be able to draw the line. Like, you try to push me into, how do I put it? I want to put it in a way that does not undermine the profession part of it. But sijui kama unaelewa kitu nauliza. Like nasema,
Yeah.
so we were talking about we were talking about embracing power and not embracing vulnerability, or okay,
which actually brings
Abonsaidia kuframe.
you to my question. Maybe when I ask my question, I don't know if there'll be a relationship between yangu na yako, but my question will be, how do we now embrace this whole being mentally aware, or like I'm conscious about my mental health and everything, but at the same time as a man being not losing the aspect of masculinity, because there's I don't know, like, is the relationship between vulnerability and actual seeking for help, because I don't know, some people will say there's no need for you as a man to seek help psychologically, like psychological help, like there's no need for that, you can just swallow everything, focus. And some people say if you actually seek help, you will be assisted, and your performance as a human being and also as a man in all your spheres of life will actually increase or improve. I don't know, what's your take on that?
How we had put it is before to nilikuwa na debrief hiyo kitu nilikuwa namwambia most of western psychology, you should call it that, western psychology dwells more on embracing vulnerability rather than embracing power, while human beings know how powerful they're supposed to be or how powerful they are. Sometimes explaining this power to people is somehow termed as I might, sasa hiyo ndo inanifikisha hapo, should I sometimes draw a line, because I will not feel comfortable talking to a preacher about how I believe human beings are powerful and all that stuff, while they'll put it in a way that makes me feel like, no, God has not given you that power, God still retains the power. I don't know, something like that. How do we draw the line, and how do we embrace power and not vulnerability? Venye tulikuwa tunaongelea ile story ya you cannot tell someone it's okay to not be okay.
Okay. I'm finding almost 3 questions in what you're asking. Let me try to align my thoughts well enough to answer all of them. One is the aspect of, do we draw a line between faith or spirituality or like spiritual approaches to mental health and professional approaches? We draw a line there.
Yeah, do we draw a line?
1. And 2 is Jobu's question about help seeking. Like the fact that sometimes help seeking can feel so vulnerable that you'd rather not seek help. So does that make you either less of a strong person if you seek help, or does it actually bring forth the outcomes that you desire? Like you get help, you move forward, be better. The other one is, I think where now the 2 questions come together. Like, how do we promote, or how does psychology in general promote the aspect of knowing that I can handle a situation? Do we ever go that way, like helping someone know they can handle it, or is it always coming back to, I don't know if I'm packaging it very well, like the last part of your question where you're saying if you approach a spiritual leader, for instance, they are likely, or I don't know, but they could come up with the perspective that you're not as powerful as you're imagining.
For instance, let me give you an example. Let me give you an example. Yeah. For instance, if you asked me what my greatest fear is, I would say my greatest fear is reaching my full potential, because I know how big that will be, or you see something like that.
Yeah.
Now I'm telling that to a pastor.
Okay.
How do you think they will perceive it?
Okay. Okay. So let me start with the first one. Do we draw a line between faith, spirituality, and professional help seeking, or seeking help from a professional setting? Unfortunately, there's so many instances and circumstances that lead sometimes to us drawing a line. But it's very unfortunate, because ideally we shouldn't be drawing a line.
Yeah.
In terms of, it's like telling you to draw a line between your eyes and your ears. You see, it's all a part of you. So your spirituality, your psychology, your emotions, your social life, your physical life, they make you. So at the point you are telling you draw a line between spirituality and professional help in terms of psychology, we are breaking you apart. We are fragmenting this process. So I'd say I would lean more towards, can we put these approaches together? Are you able to find a space where spirituality is appreciated? At the same time, you get a professional way of handling things, because I am privileged to work and interact with spiritual leaders, you know them, who are able to do both.
Mm-hmm.
You interact with this person and you're getting a professional side of them, and underlying that is their knowledge of God. They are your pastor, for instance, your spiritual leader. So I'm quite maybe in that space where I might not say so much about the other side, but I'd say it's usually very unfortunate when we need to draw a line, because then we break you apart. It's like you're not sure, do I go to church or do I go to a therapist? I hope we get to a place where, especially for our African context, our communities, we can bring all these approaches together, where my spiritual leader can tell me, hapa penye nimefika, it's my limit of helping you. I'd like you to see this professional, and they refer you to someone who's a professional, who's trained in counseling, for example. I also, as a counselor, when you come to me, nifika mahali, I can tell you, from in this particular area we are talking about and exploring, I'd like you to talk to your spiritual leader. So I send you back to the pastor. So you might not go and tell them all the problems you told me as a counselor, but you go and address the spiritual side with your spiritual leader. Back and forth like that. All aimed at making you the holistic individual that you are. The same thing also goes to our other social context, like back in the rural areas, for instance, in the village. Your elders, your chief, such people are usually the first responders when things are going wrong at home. So if these people are aware of what mental health is, how we can support people best, these are the people who should be having even contacts of like professional people. So when you go to them and maybe something has happened, it's a traumatic situation, they can tell you, I can help you as your chief by talking through the situation, but I may not figure at the level that a professional will go. Let me refer you to someone. They write for you the name and the number, they send you there. Are you seeing? So that collaborative approach is what I really hope and pray we do get there one day. It's already happening, at least where I've been able to meet people who are open-minded like that. But of course, there's a lot to still be done in that area. So I do hope we never have to break, draw a line.
It's like what we were talking about earlier.
Yes.
Okay, tuliongea vitu mingi sana senye ulikuwa umetoka. I was briefing her, but in the process we couldn't exchange information. It's like what we were talking about, is meditation okay for a Christian? Should a Christian meditate?
And
And-
that's
And now, give me the answer and then I tell you
No, we should start with what is meditation.
what is meditation. Yeah.
okay. Can I answer the previous question and then I can move forward?
Yeah.
Without interrupting parts? The Jobu's question. I think you already answered holistically. The 1 and the 2. The 1 and the 3. So number 2, the question now.
Oh, number 3, yeah.
Yes. So the one for whether seeking help is weakness. You may summarize further. But basically, like how most people are hesitant to seek help, especially men in our society, because you're brought up to know you should be strong, you should move forward. I'm hearing from Jobu, there is focus. I've seen it in very many places. I didn't know it's something, a thing.
Tunnel vision.
Yeah.
Tunnel vision.
So, unfortunately, it's something that is very common to hear. Like, help seeking appears to be weakness, but I'd say for sure it's not. I mean, the way Job put it, it's like you're torn between, if I seek help, will I look weak? Or if I seek help, I'll get the help I need and move forward. Okay. Are you seeing? So, you're in a place where I'd say help seeking is actually meant to help you. It's meant to get you out of whatever situation it is that you're going through, that you're struggling with, and hopefully you tide over, and get to the other side of it and move forward with life. So, maybe I could describe what getting help is, because I think that's where the gap and the challenge is. When we say you're seeking help in a professional setting, I may not go into other forms of help, like community help, sometimes without those professional ethics and all that, it can be very intrusive sometimes. And I think hiyo ndio watu wanaogopa. The fact that maybe you tell this person your problem and they go trust another person with it, who trusts another person with it. Now the whole community knows your problem. But in a professional setting, there are ethics. We abide by confidentiality, where I cannot share your information unless either you're at home. There are specific things that could cause me to breach confidentiality. But again, I would need to tell you. I need to tell someone else who can help you better. I'm not breaching it juu ya gossip ama kuambiana. It's about, I want to do what would best protect you in this situation. So confidentiality is paramount in a professional setting. There is empathy. Like, I can imagine how it is for you. I won't come and start telling you, I know your situation, I understand. No, it's actually never I understand or I know in a professional setting. It's more of, I want to hear you out and I want to work with you in that direction of getting the support that you need. There's also the unconditional positive regard. Those are things you don't get in normal relationship settings of like conversing with someone about your problems. Unconditional positive regard is, no matter what you tell me you've done, I can still regard you positively. So in that conversation of help seeking, no matter what you tell me you've done, I'll still be encouraging you to open up more so that we can seek solutions without judging you and being like, you know what, siwezani na wewe. As a professional, I am bound to those ethics that I can't tell you that. Non-judgmental. A professional setting of getting help is non-judgmental in that you can say anything. Of course, there's still the bounds of confidentiality, but there are, there's that sense of you feel held, not pushed away at, oh, you're the worst of the worst people because you've done ABCD. No, as a professional, I'd need to work with you as things are towards a positive outcome. So at the end of the day, yes, I'm receptive of your information, and then I journey with you to accommodate the fact that things need to change some way. And then we find a way to change them, we find a way to cope, we find a way to build a new life. Are you seeing? So it's very gradual. Maybe not like when you're talking with just anyone else and they're telling you, ay, ulifanya hivyo, aya, mi siongei na wewe tena, and they cut you off. That would be very unfortunate. And I think that's now what makes help seeking even more difficult, because you're thinking, niliaisema shida zangu, nikashitiwa hivyo. But now, this is what you get in a professional setting, just what I've described. So I do hope that help seeking can improve when you know this is what I'm getting. The confidentiality, the empathy, the unconditional positive regard, no matter what, we can talk. Non-judgmentalism, like I don't judge you. I'm just here to not the other one of we listen but we don't judge, the common, no, this is a very serious space now. Yeah. Now, your process of getting better, or now the help working for you, the healing that we are seeking when you're seeking help, is often again misunderstood. Like when you come to me for help, you're going through a situation, you're not necessarily mentally ill, just maybe not coping well with situations. There's a whole spectrum there. So kuna ile not coping well, and then now when we can diagnose you with a mental illness. Let's do this one for not coping well. You've come to me as a professional, we are talking, and you let me know that this situation happened and I've been experiencing these signs and symptoms, and I can relate them with, you're not doing very well. Psychologically, probably emotionally, socially as well, because there would be either isolation or withdrawal, all those symptoms. I hope one day we can have a conversation about now mental health and the symptoms. Once we have shared what we are dealing with, what brings you to therapy, now the step that we go is, I don't take over your situation and fix it. I journey with you as you fix it. Are you getting? So I'm there as a support. I'm not there as a fixer, as a solution, no. I am there to help you explore the solutions that would work for you. Of course, as a trained professional, I have a very long list of solutions, but they might not work for Ray. The same ones that worked for Ray might not work for Job. So I need to very, very cautiously journey with you. We call it a person-centered approach. Like you as an individual, them as an individual, them as an individual. And I'm journeying with you as you do what needs to be done to change your situation. I'm not changing your situation. I'm also not fixing your problems. I'm not also giving you solutions. I'm helping you see them because they are within you. Now that's the power you were talking about. All the help you need is actually within you. You're the one who will help yourself through this situation. I am only there as an external support. And there's this quote that summarizes it all so that we move on to meditation. Healing, how healing is conceptualized.
Yeah.
A healer does not heal you. A healer is someone who holds the space as you find the inner healer in you to heal yourself. So my role is to hold the space for you as you find that inner healer, the healer in you to heal yourself. So you see, that's what therapy is, basically.
So where is God in that? Because there's another healer that is again. Where's the superior being here now?
Can I try?
Yeah,
I think
sure.
the superior being there is the one who gave you that power. Like the one who gave you that inner healer is God. We say God feeds the birds, but he does not put worms in their nests. Unapata? That's how that's
Yeah.
so Mungu ashakupea kila kitu. It's up to you to learn how to use it. Sometimes people don't know how to do these things. And what is meditation?
I'd actually be interested to understand the relationship between religion and psychology. Now, from a statistical point of view, it's a question I've written down. Hopefully, do you have maybe the stats somewhere? You can just do it next time. Like, I'd be interested to know, because you said there's a role that religion plays in your well-being. So now I'd be interested just to know how do people like artists, like what's the percentage of people that aren't inclined to any religion or spirituality form? What is the number of illnesses, the number of people that are sick? I don't know. I'd be interested to know, like,
Who have
that have
illness?
yeah.
Okay. I may not have very conclusive statistics, but in WHO statistics are often what we go by. Of course, statistics for mental health are hard to come by, again, because of stigma, because of how we document those cases as well. Usually, our systems have yet to accommodate that perspective. The same way we have like malaria statistics can be easy to come by because mtu akienda hosi aandikiwa ako na malaria, we have a way of listing them down. But you see, for other mental health issues, first of all, they are complex disorders. Before we can diagnose you, before we can say this is what you have, it takes so long. It even takes more time than it takes for you to heal. So by the time we are almost diagnosing, shakwa sawa, because maybe you're already in the helping process. So the statistics aren't very conclusive yet, but what I have is the WHO that says globally, mental disorders contribute to 13 to 14% of the disease burden in the world. That is like, for every 100 people who are sick, 13 to 14 of them are mental disorders, like are diagnosed with mental disorders. And now that is those who are diagnosed and either getting help or something, but those who've come out. But you can imagine in our rural communities in Kenya, barely do we get to know who is or who is not unwell in terms of mental health. Yeah, so statistics, especially contextualized and aligned with particular regions, not so easy to come by. Yeah, I wouldn't say I have at least what I can put out there.
Meditation.
Yeah. Okay, so meditation, I think, can be defined as in as many ways as you can think. Some people would just hear meditation and they hear yoga. Some would hear meditation.
Go, 'Go, 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 '
Well, some would hear meditation and maybe a Bible verse would pop up in their mind, like meditate on these words day and night, that kind of thing. Some would hear meditation and they're thinking nature. Now, on a professional point of view, just for us to put perspective, and maybe this is more of a personal opinion, I don't know. I'd say meditation is just a way of you calming or slowing down to a sense that you can notice what is going on around you, one, and take it all in through all your senses. So if you realize whenever you're busy, it's like some parts of you are shut down somehow.
yeah.
Your focus
You're
is
focused
somewhere
on one thing, yeah.
specific. But meditation gives you a chance to then be so quiet and in such a space that all your senses, you can notice what each of your senses is picking from your environment. I'm not defining, I'm explaining now. So that's where now you hear your feet on the ground, your arms some way, breathing in and out, close your eyes, try to listen to your environment, the most subtle of noises. You're getting the gist of it.
Yeah.
So meditation in a sense is meant to still you. It's like you get to calm down and tone down all these stimulating things that can be happening in your environment. So generally, as a human being, we take in information from our environment to the brain through our senses. So whatever you touch, the brain has to interpret. It's the same way if you touch wood versus if you touch cloth, your brain will interpret them differently.
Yeah.
You'll know this is wood, this is cloth. When you see something, again, that information needs to go to the brain to be interpreted. You've seen a cow, you've not seen a goat. You've seen a car, you've not seen a bike. Out of, again, knowledge that has been configured before, When you were younger, you asked, ni nini ukaambiwa ni gari. So when you see such a thing, in your brain, it's a gari. It's been configured. I'm working with computer people here, so I know they get. When you see a cow, ukiwa mdogo, you didn't know, it was blank. That space was blank. Then you asked ni nini, ukaambiwa ni ng'ombe. Siku ingine ukaambiwa ni cow. Those two things associated with one thing and configured to your brain. So every other time you see a cow, you'll interpret as a cow. Your brain will interpret as a cow. What you hear, again, the same, gets configured, and then repetitively you keep interpreting that way. What you taste, all your 5 senses, really, I don't want to go through the whole list, probably I have. And so all that information, imagine being in an environment that is noisy. There's so much movement. There's so much, there's so much, senses. All your senses are active. It's too stimulating. Your brain can go into override. That is like too much information. You're just overwhelmed. Let me say it that way. So meditation is meant to calm you down such that it's like your brain goes into a state where ni kama ile, I don't know, for a computer, what do you normally do? Like to give it a break from too much.
You shut down. Actually, it's,
Yes.
this one is not even supposed to be in this episode, but let me just say, now that you've talked about that, you realize most of the time when you use your laptop, you just shut it, you just close the lid. That's most laptop settings, nakuwaga nasema hibernate when the lid is closed and it's not plugged into power. So when you use it over a long period of time, regardless of the type of laptop, at some point, okay, flip up the lid, start the work, you proceed whatever you are doing, and realize in a hang or something like that. So that's when you need to just shut it down, give it a few minutes. Yeah.
And you realize when shutting down, something that just popped in my mind. When you're shutting down, you close all tabs.
Yeah.
If there was anything running, you have to shut it down. Like it prompts you to shut it down.
Yeah.
The same thing with our brains. If you've ever seen this meme that says, I have 30 tabs running on in my brain, some of us are that sensitive to the environment. So you can imagine on this end, you're hearing cars, on this end, you're hearing what. All those are like, think of it as tabs open in your brain. taking in information or running in the background processing. So when you give yourself a chance to shut down, you're forced to switch off all those and focus on the quiet, the stillness that is around you. And that has tremendous effect on your brain, both chemistry-wise and also your functioning generally. So the more you have moments to do that frequently, then you're likely to be in better well-being generally, in that when you come back now to a stimulating environment, you're able to cope better than when you're already overwhelmed and then you're in another overwhelming situation. You can imagine. So it's like you've taken time off, you're coming back, you can be reintroduced to some situations, go back, take time off, come back. So of course I've avoided so much meditation in the very controversial way, but now I think we can get in terms of mental health where it is helpful. Now on whether the practice has an impact spiritually or wherever, I don't want to go there. I think that's sufficient from my end as a professional. Like what it does for your brain, that should be sufficient. Yeah.
So people should equip yourself with information.
Yeah, there's something she has said, which has actually sort of opened a different perspective to me about meditation. Like you said, okay, meditate, I don't know, they say you close your eyes, I don't know, you would focus on some things. And then going back to that verse, I wish I knew. Do you know where exactly that verse is? Like, can you open it in the scriptures, do some?
Yeah.
Because be still, I know that I am
be
God.
still, I know that I am God. Yeah.
Like be still, so you have to be still and focus on the other things. Like when you need to be in a place where there's no distractions, things like those. I don't know, interesting. Like be still, I know that I am God. Because you see, like if you are looking to see God, you can't see God. You can't say that you love me. Like we say unapenda Mungu na umpendi jirani yako. Because that's how God's nature is revealed to us. Like it's revealed to us through the people around us and even the environment that is around us. So now when you say be still and know that I am God, actually makes a lot of sense because umesema like you can actually touch something and know this is.
Yeah.
So when you are still, you can actually focus more on things that you've been seeing but not seeing. Like you can realize, oh wow, I actually live in a place that has really fresh air. Sure. This place rains, unlike my home county where it only rains 2 months in a year. Wow, this is beautiful.
Yeah.
Like there's actually tea in this place. Like, like you can actually now focus on something. I don't know if that is the actual interpretation of the scripture. Is it 2 units ama tulifanya ngapi? Like 3 units of
theology.
So maybe that makes me like pastor tu akanini hapo kwa plot, Yeah, but maybe
Yeah.
And
It does make sense though. In that,
add-on.
yeah.
Juu saizi time imesonga. So
Sure.
let me ask, what relationship does meditation have with sounds and vibrations?
Oh yeah.
Like
Maybe we should actually even have a producer on this.
And I will episode remember I feel like actually Mr. Kasika mentioned something when we were having the session. Venye alikuwa anatengeneza hiyo frequencies, akasema kuna the ones we can't hear actually, and then there are those that are too loud. Sorry, there are those that are too soft to be heard, too loud to be heard. And then now there's a lot of rage right now on YouTube about God's frequency, quote and quotes. Si kama tumeiona.
I haven't.
When you're watching those, if you've seen, and this is not to speak anything on my personal searches, but like if you've seen those ninis on meditation, calming sounds, they call it God frequency, or that two hearts thing.
Yeah.
Yes. So the interpretation, I was really treading carefully around that, but let's go in. The interpretation is that there's a frequency that in our brains is so soothing and calming that if you can get that right frequency, you're likely to be, it's like a hypnotic effect.
Yeah.
Your brain has a chance to just can I call it hibernate? It's like go off and just calm, and there's no ups and downs, kind of the way you would interact with the environment, and you're being affected by this, affected by that. It's too loud, it's too so. So there's a frequency lying there that they have identified. I would need to research more and then bring really proper information, but I think we can do that in a different set.
Which actually the audience can also equip themselves with information.
Yes,
Yeah,
for sure.
tell us in the comment section.
Yeah.
It actually brings me to Koya Nini. There's a book I was reading, Dark Psychology. I forgot the writer. So unfortunate. Like psychology. I'll nitawambia next time. There's a whole chapter, a whole section that talks about hypnosis and how to do all that. So it's interesting because when you say hypnosis, because hypnosis is that state where like your mind isn't really thinking per se.
Active.
Yeah, so that's why subconsciously kuna vitu mtu akianza kuniambia when you're talking, my mind already inaniambia hata kama msee anaisema out of like goodwill, but akisema some words mimi akili yangu already inaniambia by the way msee this is sort of like a red code word that when someone says when someone starts talking about such a chapter or nini, ita automatically itakufanya you start seeing them in a different way. Like kuna vitu zenye msee atakwambia and then they'll sort of trigger you emotionally, so you won't even judge them how you won't relate to them the way you're supposed to relate to them. So mtu kuna mtu anaweza sema by the out of two hana hila yoyote, unaona, but mimi akiniambia hivyo itani, so there's that hypnosis niyo that state yenye akili yako ni imeenda, it's not even thinking, it's sort of focus.
But there's
that.
I'd say a dark side to it. So I'd encourage, if you don't have sufficient information and not in the hands of a professional, please tread very carefully, because there's another side to it that can really be harmful psychologically. Yeah.
Can we touch a bit on that side so that we tuguze side zote tusiko tume
the side
it's more of a forensic psychology thing. I don't want to really go into it. Even in training we didn't really go into it, but ile tu, if you watch a lot of crime, there's usually this place where they use psychological torment or something to get information out of someone. Those means they can inject someone something, go out, but they're still talking, participating. That's actually hypnosis.
Yeah, hypnosis.
So that's why I'm saying there's a dark side to it. We need to tread very carefully in terms of that information. And if it's not being handled, because they are actually professional people who practice hypnosis.
Also
so
in the line
very
of that,
important to be careful.
Also in the line of that,
Yeah.
and this is, guys, make sure, disclaimer, this is for educational purposes only.
Yeah.
We are trying to educate or rather clarify needs. And so in that line of psychology bado and drug abuse, what psychology and the aspect of meditation and things like psychedelics and drug abuse, people think certain types of drugs, things like marijuana or certain types of mushrooms would hypnotize you in a spiritual way. Or what's the psychology behind that, the science behind that?
Now this is saying we tread carefully. This is the careful I'm talking about. I think as a psychotherapist, counseling psychologist, I can only respond in the capacity of where I have had to intervene in a situation where that has gone wrong. Going wrong in terms of developing substance use disorders. Yeah. That's where I've often come in, like, to support now someone who already the attempt to use psychedelics, that's a very big term. We would need a whole conversation to break it down. But like substances in any form, the attempt to use them either to cope with difficult situations or to attain a certain high, a certain feeling. So you keep chasing it to a point it becomes an addiction. or it becomes a dependence. So now here we are in a place where it is causing you negative effects instead of the desired effects that was initially there. And we are intervening to help you go back to a quote unquote normal state of being, or a good state of being, because you aren't doing well when it goes wrong. So that's the treading carefully I'm talking about, really, because information can be available, but now you need discernment on how to apply it personally. At the end of the day, it comes back to you as an individual to decide, do I not?
But in real sense, do people really need to use anything to induce themselves to a state of hypnosis? Like, do you need drugs or mushrooms or all those things? Are they really necessary?
Now, the very interesting thing that you discover over time, whether from a spiritual perspective, a psychology, education perspective, or anything, is nature is quite balanced. I've said that, and it can be very, for some people can run with that and say, so why do these things exist? But the reason I'm saying nature is very balanced is that how we exist as humans, we are very connected to the things that are around us, so much that we don't need to take anything extra to induce our well-being. There are things that we can take in a healthy way and be healthy. That's the much we need. But now when we get greedy and desire a higher level of something else, then we go wrong, because now we start chasing that higher level and it goes wrong. Really terribly wrong. So there is quite a balance to be struck there, and also information. Like, I think information, hapo ndio shida mingi iko. Information, do you know really what you're committing to? Yes, this person has told you this can give you a high, it can make you pass your exams, especially for the younger people, the adolescents and old and younger and even young adults. You'd be told, vuta hii kitu and you'll be able to read well, or do this and this, you'll be able to do well in school. But really, is there evidence to that? Is it real information? Is it helpful? Or there is actually another helpful way that you can go with and you will be okay and also doing well? Because you can be doing well, but you're not okay. So we've lost an aspect of you, which might be even more important than doing well in school. You see? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think kuna swali lingine. Maybe a lot has been answered. Jobu, do you have anything to say?
No. I think that's well put. For part one, I feel like you've explored a wide variety of
mental health.
Yeah. So maybe if you have any questions,
what's your
perhaps just in the comment section type up, or if also you want to have a session with Gladwell, she's available. She can, of course, slot in her schedule.
Alikuwa
today we are
share contact. How can people reach you?
Today we actually are having a company sort of, what is it called now? Company therapy session, ama how is it?
An awareness training.
Okay. I thought walikuwa wananipeleka. Just save us. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, parting shot.
For part one, of course.
Tuanze alafu tumalizie na the golden information. Anyway, Jobu, anza.
Answer.
Yeah.
You start. God.
Oh no.
So I think to
Bob's rad.
I think to finish up.
Yeah.
I think to finish up, I will say that it's when tumesema hivi broken down, it's okay to not be okay. We've not said it's okay to not be okay. We said it's okay to seek help, and people should embrace that. And as Africans, we need to know and identify what works for us and actually do it. And make sure you understand and know that human beings, as people who are created with as the most intelligent of creations, are powerful in ways that venye tumesema hapa hivi tukimalizia ni you don't need to add anything to become better. You are powerful as you are. All you need to do is learn how to embrace your power. And yeah, that's how things like being Christ-like or being people who are believers of Christ, isn't it some of the things, personally for me, being a Christian is some of the things that have helped me immensely understand who I am, understand how much power I have, understand how much believing in Jesus can change a person if you actually believe in Jesus the right way. Sasa si tushaona there are people who believe in Jesus and then they're like, I don't need to go to therapy, I just need to pray about it. No, embrace your power and learn how to use it. Yeah,
Okay.
that's all I can say. Jobu.
You know, when Dede was talking, akisema what was to me drugs, I was about to plug in a coffee brand, but now the problem is they haven't paid. Yeah. I feel like that so this is how the ad was supposed to be, so that you guys who are there joking, like I was to tell you guys, you shouldn't take drugs. Instead, you can take X coffee and it can actually help you because you're giving you top of the shelf coffee brand. But now that they haven't paid, that's why there's an X there. Yeah. Otherwise, me I'd say it's, you know, as individuals, as human beings, we should strive to just to understand ourselves. Like there's something Gladwell also said. I'm really glad she did say that, because you see what I did there?
Oh well.
Imekupita, pause, rudisha, -10. Yeah. I'm really glad she said that. Alisema there's a point nabidi umejielewa. Like you have to really understand yourself as a human being. That's one of the things that you should strive to really understand, because when you understand yourself, unajiondolea mashida zingine hapo mbele. But this being the mental awareness month, we will try as much as possible to bring experts, not necessarily patients. Just, I think they're safe kuko hapo behind the scenes. That's okay. They're getting whatever our expert is telling us. But we'll try as much as possible as a podcast to bring you guys information and support the information to, like, tutasukuma hii agenda ifikie vizuri as much as possible, na mwelewe kwamba kuhitaji usaidizi si kitu kibaya. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So much I think we've been able to talk so much in this conversation, which I really appreciate, getting a chance to have this conversation, because our roots as Africans is in stories. Sini watu wa kuongea, our roots.
Yeah.
And it's those stories we tell ourselves that build us up, but can also destroy us. But I'm really glad that this set is meant to build us up, and we are getting that chance to do that. So I look forward to a lot more conversations in the line of mental health. I am hoping the next time we can have a larger set. Today didn't work out very well because of schedules and all that, but we will be doing a lot more just to speak up and contribute, answer questions. Whenever you have questions, do let us know so that we can find time to come and respond when need be. And I'll end with a word that hopefully encourages us to look deep within us for that strength that we need, the resilience that we need to keep going. And it's a quote by Steve Biko. I probably will end up summarizing it because it's very long. It has 2 parts. So one, he said in one of his literature content, he says, to poison a nation, you poison their stories. A demoralized nation tells itself demoralized stories. So, in a sense, as Africans, our history is rooted in the colonial era that really destroyed our stories. We lost a bit of who we are, but we are hoping to revive that over time. And I'm so happy with what you're doing in your conversations. Now, on the other side, he says people are as healthy and as confident as the stories they tell themselves. So for each of us out there, I really encourage that. Tell yourself that encouraging story about you, about your life, about your culture, about things happening around you. And psychology is not so far removed from that conversation. It's actually what we tell you to do, positive self-talk and all that as a way of coping. So whenever you look at a situation, look for the positives. Then that positive story will translate itself day to day. It might take time, but it's still okay. It will come together one day. So thank you so much for having me on set. Ray has asked you how you can reach me. I'm quite not a social media person. That might say a little about my age or not. But you can find me on LinkedIn. That's the only social media that I have.
Na ulianisindwa jezi. Sasa ona.
Chepkoech Gladwell. This that. And for 24-hour access, you can freely search. I'll give you the assignment to search South Rift Hospital and call in. They will organize for you to have someone on the other end for consultation. And you will be able to access professional help in that space. I might be one of the people you'll find in that consultation rooms or someone else, but you will find professional help.
Can they request for you
Hospital
specifically?
Yes, for sure. You can. Whoever you find on the end of the line, that is 24 hours, 7 days a week. You can actually, it's okay. You can request for me for a session with me. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you for
kukubali wito.
Asante.
Karibu tena.
It's an honor.
We are looking forward to do an episode on ideal health, not just mental, but physical and nutrition. Hopefully, guests wetu watapatikana. Yeah, so look forward to that. Yeah, it's almost my birthday.
Oh yeah,
Life is moving too fast, man. Okay, anyway, back to business.
Yeah, kama umefika this end when you mnoma.
Oh, by the way, June aliendea recommendation letter. Yeah. Shout out to June. She's away in Nairobi. Shughuli hapa na pale, but she'll be back after next week in our 5th episode. Any episode?
This is the third one.
This is the 3rd one. Yeah, probably in our 5th episode.
It's the third one. Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah. Lakini pale TikTok content is still flowing. The good thing about working with watu wa IT ni we believe in remote work.
Yeah, but they tell us if you are from TikTok. Andika tu hapo chini I'm from TikTok.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Please do.
Sasa otherwise we are so grateful for your time. That was time well wasted. See you on the next episode. Don't forget to subscribe, tell a friend. Yeah, we actually have a actual audience. Let me just take the opportunity. Bado ni wa shout out tena. Unajua nyinyi ndo mkituletea ads hapo zina nini. Yeah. Sasa
this has been heavy on my mind lately. Tumekuwa hatujakuwa tukishout at Login Studios bana.
Yeah. That's the production company doing most of these things on the stage. Hata ungekuwa unaona benefits ukiona tu kuna mtu anagusa hapo nini. Yeah. Shout out to Login Studios. Oh, tuangalie LinkedIn. See you kwa LinkedIn na all the other social medias.
See you next time.
Bye.
Hey.